Welcome back, Murder Strategy Battle Game fans. I am here with the recap from the event of, I guess it's 2 weekends ago now. The weekend of the 8th of October is when this event went down. So I talked a little bit about it in the preview, and now I'm going to go much more in depth. I'm going to talk about the teams, I'm going to talk about the armies that were played, and of course I'm going to talk about the results in the standings. So buckle in, grab yourself a pot of paint. Let's talk about the Scaring of the Shire team event. So, like I said, it was a team event, and we had 12 players across 6 teams. It was a partnered event, pretty much. The rankings were decided based upon you and your teammates' final score. So, of course, with that being said, normally I do a let the best match up and see where the chips fall. So round 1 was completely random. I actually had an even amount of good versus evil armies. There were 6 evil and 6 good armies, so I played complete good versus evil in round 1 for matchups. And then after that, it was based off of rankings, with the exception being, of course, that teammates could not play each other because that would, ultimately end up killing your score. So that was not going to happen. So this was a 4-round de-escalation event. We played from 700 down to 400. The first 2 rounds at 700 and 600 were 2 hours apiece, and the third and fourth rounds at 500 and 400 were an hour and a half. And I actually think that timing-wise, it went really well because all of the games for the latter 2 rounds seemed to end well within the time limit, or by the time I called time. Wow, that's a little bit of a too much usage of the word time. Anyway, by the time there we go again. When time expired, there we go. All of the games were pretty much either being decided or had been decided. There were very few where it was like, oh, I really could have used. We really didn't have definitive finish because we didn't have a long enough time. There you go, that word again, to play the game. So I felt like I was able to keep it so that all players had an equal chance when it came to clock management and having enough time on the clock in order to get full games in. I know that was a bit all over the place, and I apologize, but I think you guys understand the gist of what I was saying. So, moving on, I didn't do, set scenarios. I think I discussed this in the preview for the event. I chose 4 of the scenario pools, and that was for the first round, hold objective scenarios. The second round was kill the enemy scenarios. The third round was objective scenarios, and the fourth round was unique. So having never really done this before, de-escalation-wise, I actually came to realize that the unique scenarios probably should have been round 1 to make them more competitive at higher. Because at higher points, you obviously have more models in your army. You have bigger things, if not bigger things, just more army synergy because you can fill out a list at 700. Even with the whole de-escalation thing, where it's only 100 points, you still are going to lose some key items that could really help you or hinder you based off of what you eliminate from your list. So I came to find out, because my own game was that way, where unique scenarios are Fog of War, Assassination, and Ill Met by Moonlight. And I definitely think that I should have had that first. So as a TO, looking at it from a TO's perspective, it's like, oops, foobarred that one pretty bad. But that's to be expected. This is, like I said, the first time I've ever done a de-escalation event. So that was a little bit of a learning experience. As far as the team aspect went, I thought that went swimmingly well. Unfortunately, this was one of the days, though, where the 2 best players at the event were on the same team, and I'll cover that in a little bit. But I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the teams and the armies. So we had 6 teams, like I said. We had Team Eladin and Elrohir, Team Grizzly Trolls, Team The Orient Express, the Unholy Alliance, spoon peddlers, and brandy bucks on us. So I'll just go ahead and start from the top down and tell you who was on those teams and what they were playing. So Eldon and Elder here are the Elven twins, and so of course that was our very own twins of themselves, Joe and Dan Keller. So Joe brought his Riders of Théoden Legendary Legion, and Dan brought Survivors of Lake Town. I'm not really going to go into how people, because everybody talks. We talked about it afterwards when we were getting dinner. I think Dan and Joe are actually going to discuss how their armies went on their own channel, the LTR SPG team. So go check them out. There's a plug. Maybe they'll give me one in return. But I think that Saturday, unfortunately, was not their best showing. It's been a while since either of them have played. Work and life has definitely gotten to him, and Joe's dice, I actually played against him in round 3. His dice were colder than, a witch's teat in December or whatever. Just take whatever analogy you want, insert there. They were not doing him any favors. So, that was Team Eldon here, our very own Dan and Joe Keller. The Grizzly Trolls team was a husband-wife duo of Josh and Ashley Parrish. Josh was playing the Legendary Legion of the Beornings, the new one, and Ashley took Angmar, but she didn't take a scary Angmar. She took a hoardy, let-me-beat-you-down type Angmar. Now, to be fair to any sort of scoring or anything, Ashley is very new to the game, and let's just be honest, it's awesome when you find a wife that's willing to learn to play the game, which she has been willing to do. So that was one of the ones where the better player, well, I wouldn't say better, but she could be better. I think Ashley could be better than Josh. Oh, snap. Starting a war in the household. But once she gets more experience, I definitely think she's going to push people. From what I heard, she did pretty good, even though she's a novice and new to it. So I look forward to seeing how she does. And then Josh, the Beornings, did a lot of work. He had a couple games. He did really good score-wise. He had 1 loss, 1 tie, and 2 wins. And his 1 loss, it literally was because of the fact that I do a painting bonus. If you have your army fully painted, you get +1 VP per round, and that can determine wins and losses. And that determined... that made his what should have been a tie a loss, and what should have been a win a tie. So technically speaking, he should have been 3-1 on the 3-0-1, 3 wins, a loss, and a tie on the day, or 3 wins, no losses, and a tie. There we go. I said that right. Beornings are really cool. Nice to see those. Definitely kind of the lower points at 400 and 500 kind of sucks. But at 400, he had the 2 bears, Beorn and Grimbeorn, and from what I understood, they did a lot of work. So nothing wrong there. The next team, the Orient Express, is David Diaz and Evan Botkin from South Carolina, part of our South Carolina's Middle-earth League crew. They have a little local league down there in the Spartanburg, Greenville area, and they have been doing pretty good from what I heard, building the community. If not huge, but a solid core group of guys that come out and get together and meet every night. Or not every night, I'm sorry. Every week or once a month. So, pretty cool that they got that going. So, David played the Varings of Khand, and Evan played the new host of the Dragon Emperor Legendary Legion of Easterlings. They both did pretty good, in my opinion. It was a little bit of a rough day showing for them. I guess matchups just didn't go well in their favor. I did play Evan in the second round, and I will say this. I made absolutely no attempt with my army to go anywhere near the Dragon Emperor. I literally just tried to feed him a guy or two a turn and put another guy in position to hold him up if he did a heroic so that he couldn't, wrap it around and really do some real damage. Never got off any sort of attacks at him. I don't even think I actually shot at him with my army. So I just Of course, we also had a scenario where we played where it was not. It was kind of to my advantage to ignore the Dragon Emperor. I mean, I gave up a VP because we played to the death, or 2 VPs, but I'm not going to worry about that. I did end up winning that game. So, and then David had, at 700 points, he had 6 chariots running around. 2 with kings, 1 with a chieftain, and then just 3 straight up chariots. And I think he had that even at 600. So he had that at 700 and 600, and then it was a bunch of horsemen. So he played all mounted, which is pretty cool. I think he had 1 guy on foot because we ended up, when he turned his listings and I ran the numbers, I think he had like enough points for just a guy on foot. And I told him, dude, you should just put it in at 700 points because then you can easily cut him out like one of your first cutouts. So I think he had that at 700, and then it went away in 6 or whatever. The next team was the Unholy Alliance. So it's kind of funny if you look at the teams so far. So that's 3 teams. Eldon and Eller here were both good. Then Grizzly Trolls are good and evil, and then Orient Express are both evil. And now we have Unholy Alliance, which is a good and an evil. And that was consistent of Richie Sanders and Chris. I'm not even going to try and say your last name. Shinestul? Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, Chris. You and me are bros, and you know I don't know shit. So I can't say your name, and I do apologize. But Chris ran the Riders of Theoden Legendary Legion also with a little bit of a different build. He did take the banner, whereas Joe never does. And then Richie was playing Moria with the Watcher. So they did pretty good. They call it Unholy Alliance because Richie is from up in Virginia, Pennsylvania area. I think was it Spotsville, Pennsylvania, I believe, or whatever. And Chris is from the South Carolina group that I was talking about earlier with David and Evan in that Greenville, Spartanburg area. So they're another one of those good evil team combos. So have that going on. And then we had the Spoon Peddlers, which is Todd and Everett from here in the Carolinas as well. I would say from Charlotte, but Todd is unfortunately moving away from us. He is going to come back to visit and play, but he is no longer living in the Charlotte area, which is very sad because he's a great guy, and hopefully he can continue to come to events because it's fun having him hang out with us and play. And he and I actually played round 1. It's already the battle report that is posted. I'll leave a card in the video for you guys to go check it out. And then Everett's a cool guy too. Everett played Mordor with Serpent Horde allied in. So he had, what's his name? Suladun, the Serpent Lord, and he had a Witch King, and he had Kardouche, and that was his 700 point. He just kind of worked it down from there. So by the end of the event, he was down to the Suladun and the Witch King, and all mounted guys. He had nothing but mounted guys left at 400 points because he and I played as well in the 4th round. So, let me see. Where are we at? Trying to think. So yeah. Actually, I played. Like I said, I played Todd in the 1st round, and then Everett in the 4th round. And so I've covered everybody I've played so far because I played Evan in round 2, and then Joe in round 4. But those 2 guys did pretty good. They definitely had a. It was one of those days where, because of the fact that this was a teamed event, if you were able to pull like a 500 score at 2-2, you weren't really taking your teammate down. Kind of funny, but we'll discuss that later. And finally, that leaves the last team of Brandy Bucks on us, and that was myself and Michael Hens. Michael is, I believe he's graduated. No, he's not graduated. He's working on something for college credit. I can't remember what. I think it's like an internship, but it's not an internship. But he goes to Clemson, and he is doing can't remember what it is. We talked about it. It's for school. He's doing it here in Charlotte. So he is now, for the time being, local to us here in Charlotte. And unfortunately, there were going to be 7 teams for this event. Both his and my partner dropped out kind of last minute. And so we partnered up together. So it was kind of a quote-unquote unholy alliance as well. But it worked out well for us. So he played a Last Alliance combo of, obviously, Numenor and Rivendell. And I played the Assault on Helm's Deep Legendary Legion. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, speaking specifically of mine, but I did ban siege weapons for this event. So I was not playing with a bomb team or with a ballista. And I know some people are sitting here going, well, why the hell did you even bother to take it then? Yeah, I mean, I thought it did well. I went 4-0, so I guess it did well. But yeah, so Michael had, I'm trying to think of what he had. He had Aristor. He didn't have Kieran. He had Aristor, Isildur. I think he had an Elven Captain that was mounted. And then by the end of the event, he was down to, I know Isildur, because he was actually the round 4 battle report that will be coming out here in a couple weeks. And I believe he had Aristor. But don't quote me on that. It might have been the captain. So, yeah, that's all the teams. So we'll go ahead and talk about placings. And I'm going to work from the bottom up, and I'll give a total win-loss draw score, then total TP and total VPs. So, unfortunately for Josh, while he did really good, Ashley being new, for lack of a better word, brought the team down. I'm not trying to give Ashley a shot or anything, but she's still new. So I'm just really glad that she came and learned and played. And everybody said that she did really well, and they were close games all the way down to the wire, where it's just one of those things where it's like 1 or 2 different things that she could have done different would have possibly swung a game. But unfortunately, with her being new, that did hurt their overall score. So they had a combined record of 2 wins, 5 losses, and a draw, and then a total scoring of 12 tournament points and 39 victory points. If this was a straight-up regular event, Josh actually would have taken 3rd place. So that kind of just tells you where he was at playing skill-wise. For his Beorning Legendary Legion, how well they did. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they do come March of next year, because, oh hey, sneak peek announcement, I'm doing another 1,000 point event next year, so looking forward to getting that going. So that was 6th. 5th place was the Orient Express, which was Evan and David. They scored 2 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws. So there were a lot of draws in this tournament. Some of that had to do with the scenarios that were played, and some of that had to do with the little victory point bonus that I give being the difference between a minor loss and a draw. Like I said with Josh, his first game he lost simply because of the fact that he hadn't had time yet to paint it up. So I'm not going to keep anybody from coming to an event if they don't have painted models, because I think anybody and everybody should have a chance to learn and play the game. But if you're trying to learn the game, I'm going to give it a little bit of a nudge to folks who have been playing for a while and taking the time to paint their models. So, of course, that's also motivation for folks to paint their models in the future. So moving on from 5th being, again, the Orient Express, we had in 4th Eldon and Elra here, and that was Dan and Joe. I'm sorry. I forgot to talk. So Orient Express, they got 2 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws, 13 tournament points, and 39 victory points. So then we had Dan and Joe, like I said, in fourth place. Team Ellen and Eller here. 2 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws, 14 tournament points, and 39 victory points. Again, it was just a bad day. Unfortunately, both of them, their dice didn't really do what they were hoping they would do. Dan kind of rode that middle ground. He had a win, a loss, and 2 ties. So he pretty much basically went 500 for the event. If Joe had been able to get a couple better dice rolls and maybe some scenarios worked better in his favor, because he picked a really bad scenario for round 4, they may have been able to slip up there into third place. But as it was, they came in 4th. And then third place was the Unholy Alliance of Chris and Richie with 3 wins, 4 losses, and a single draw, 15 tournament points, 45 victory points. So pretty good showing there. I'm sure you guys are probably watching. Wait, how did third place get in with a losing record? Well, like I said, since this is a team event, the best players are not going to be matching up against each other each round if the best players are teammates. And that's kind of what happened for several situations. So second place, and this is where you get to that, is second place was the Spoon Peddlers, which was Everett and Todd. And they had a perfect 500 record at 4 wins and 4 losses. 19 tournament points scored, 56 victory points. And so round 1, I matched up against Todd, and I believe Michael matched up against, no, he didn't play. I was going to say he played Everett round 1, but no, he didn't play Everett. He played Everett round 2. So Everett, Michael, and I all won, and just because of how the scorings were, Everett and Michael played against each other round 2, whereas later on in the event, Everett and I played. So, like, you can kind of see the first and second place team definitely played each other. It just happened to be a good day for Michael and I with our dice, because we took the first place with the Brandy Bucks on Us team at 8 wins, no losses, no draws, 28 tournament points, and 65 victory points. So I think Michael and I were like top 2 going into rounds 3 and 4, and just because of the fact that we were teammates, it prevented us from ever playing against each other. We're in a normal event that would have occurred and knocked one of the 2 of us out of the top 3. So, yeah, that's kind of one of the weird things, I guess, about doing a team event. But at the same time, I mean, it was fun. I did do a bonus. Folks that wore costumes, because it was a October event, you know, the scaring of the Shire for Halloween. Folks could come dressed in costumes, and unfortunately, we only got 2 guys in costume with a photo taken, and that's here in the video. But I didn't get anybody else's photo taken. Everybody came in, put their costumes on, gathered around for about 5 minutes while we discussed the first round. And then after that, they all were like, all right, I'm taking this off. And I was just like, okay. But everybody except for one team got the bonus, and it was a swap opponent / veto token. And I think I talked about it in the write-up, so I'll just do or the preview. So I'll just do a quick summary of it. And it was basically, if you get matched up against somebody and you think that the player your teammate is going against would be a better matchup for you, you can do a swap. That being said, the player you are going to swap to play against has the option to veto if they had one of the swap veto coins. If a team didn't use their swap veto coin, at the end of the event, it was +1 tournament point to their overall score. So it didn't make a difference. Nobody used them. So I guess that whole idea for a bonus, while being fun and a little bit thematic, was completely superfluous at the end of the day. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that other than it was a cool idea that never got to be used. So, yeah, maybe I'll try it again in the future for an event. Maybe not. But that is the teams, the scores, the armies used, and kind of just how my thoughts rant for the event. Overall, I think it was a good event. No real issues, no bad sportsman conduct, which is something that unfortunately plagued my event in February. But that won't happen again because that player has been banned from my events. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just end it here. Already at almost 26 minutes, which is ridiculous. So thanks, guys, for listening and watching along. Please like, share, subscribe, and I hope to bring you more Middle-earth content very soon. Take care.